if we do adopt this charter, for example, is it in any way binding in terms of our decisions or how we carry out the work of City Council? So would it be binding in any way on our decision making, or would this document simply be, again, sort of a affirmation of the values that are contained therein?
Mr. Mayor and members of City Council, after the standing committee, we did go back as administration and we did look at all of our corporate policies. We did not find any violation of our corporate policies, but I would defer to our city solicitor as far as any binding is from a legal perspective.
Your Worship and members of Council, the Charter is a document of intent and guidance. It doesn't appear to have any legally binding effect. It's just by affirming this charter and adopting it, it speaks to what council would see as goals for itself. It doesn't obligate it to make decisions in a certain way.
I do have a motion at the appropriate time.
In terms of requests that would be similar to this, are there other options that are available to council, whether it be through proclamations, determining that perhaps a week, similar to the proclamations that you made this evening, Mr. Mayor, would designate, I guess, that particular week to highlight, issues like this to our community, rather than adopting something. What's going to happen to this document if it's adopted tonight? Is there going to be somebody in administration that's going to ensure that we move forward in a compassionate way with our policies, with our planning documents? I'm not a big supporter of adopting things just for the sake of saying we adopted them.
Your Worship, members of Council, we certainly had some discussion about this and consideration prior to, or as the document and as the issue moved forward. One of the discussions I had with Ms. Payne after the standing committee meeting is, would we make any of those changes? Really, the intent is, obviously, it's a consciousness raising document, but we wouldn't have any intent to really forcefully change the way we do business as a result of it. We can put it on our website. We can do, we can advertise it or publicize it that way. But I don't see that the council's adoption of this will change our day-to-day business activities. I'd like to think we are already compassionate and we already are handling things with a conscience. In terms of your concept of adopting a week, I mean, that's certainly at council's discretion. We do get applications for similar things from time to time. But in terms of building it into our everyday lives, there were similar things in the past. One example that comes to mind is walking meetings, and we had some discussion about that. We did it for a brief amount of time, and it fell by the wayside. And that is the challenge with something like this, is keeping it at the forefront. I know the organization's passionate. They will attempt to keep it at the forefront. But we obviously are doing a lot of business activities here, and unless there's something that is delivered to us, that is my fear also, that it would slip by the wayside. No, and I don't intend, by my comments to speak against the philosophies and ideals, but practically speaking, it would be very difficult for us to keep it at the forefront without continuous prompt to do so.
And that's definitely part of my concern. What is our role as a municipal governance body in terms of requests that are coming forward from community members, whether it's an instance like this, whether it's an instance to fly a flag for a particular event. And I think as a council, we are going to encounter more often these requests. So in terms of deliberating as to whether or not we adopt it, certainly I'm not in any way expressing to you that I don't appreciate your attempt to, heighten awareness in terms of the need for compassion. I agree with that. But in terms of my role as a councillor and voting on an issue in terms of adopting it from a council perspective, I've got some significant questions about it.
Councillor Kuzmierczak.
Put forward the motion that we affirm, and that
Can I
City
just
Council.
respond to those concerns?
I'm sorry, Council has control of the matter now. We can't hear from the delegation.
I would put forward that City Council put forward the motion that City Council both affirms and adopts the Charter for Compassion as it is amended on the screen.
It is moved. Is it supported? Supported by Councillor Mara. Discussion? Councillor Payne.
Your Worship, I will not, unfortunately, support the motion. I'm sorry, and for two reasons. One is that, first of all, let me state full disclosure that I practice a religion, but this up to tonight, this particular concept was based on, it seemed to me, on religious principles or religious persons, and I'm a really strong believer in the matter of church and state being separate, and this, I think, would be a blending of church and state. The second reason I won't support it is kind of touched on by the CAO. We're all compassionate people, I'm sure, around this table, and the vast, vast majority of Windsorites are compassionate people. I don't think we need a charter from local government to tell us that we should be compassionate, so I can't support it. Thank you.
I also will not be able to support it for the reasons that I expressed this evening, and for the comments that we got back from the CEO in terms of, by adopting this, what would it mean? Would it mean that there would be initiatives that would be undertaken by the city? Are we going to do something with this? And from what I've heard, it's nothing more than a formality tonight of saying, yes, we adopt it. There's no intention to do anything more with it. And so for that reason, I would simply suggest to you that it's probably a better idea to ask us to issue a proclamation in terms of a compassionate week or something that would be short term, as many of the other organizations that we see on a regular basis do for their groups.
Councillor Kuzmierczak.
I'd just like to state that I think that the solicitor, city solicitor, has reaffirmed or confirmed that this document is not going to be binding. It's not going to affect the day-to-day work and decision-making of City Council. Having said that, in a city like ours that has, over 9 or 10% unemployment rate, I think we should affirm compassion. I think, especially in our context, we shouldn't let an opportunity slip by to affirm compassion for our fellow residents and citizens of the city. Furthermore, we are a city that is very diverse. We are the 4th most diverse community in Canada. And so affirming this compassion for each other, for our differences, I think is also important. So for these reasons, I would support adopting this Charter of Compassion in our city.
Councillor Mara.
I seconded the motion. Thank you for your presentation. What's your name, young lady?
Lena.
Your comments were brilliant, and I appreciate the amendments you brought forward to mitigate anyone's concerns that this is something that's religiously driven. This is about humanity. This is about a certain ideology that I think this community already practices. I have an abundance of respect for the concerns expressed by my colleagues, but I think this symbolic adoption of this Charter of Compassion speaks volumes of what we believe in as a community. And there are some practical applications. If you simply go into the website, it speaks to what it means to be adopting a charter and some of the really outstanding tools that are available to organizations or municipalities, and we can take advantage of it. But ultimately, this makes a statement, I believe, of what we represent, and I want to echo one of the comments Councillor Kuzmierczak has stated around our diversity. I'm most proud of our diversity, not because we are a diverse community, because of what we have demonstrated globally of how a diverse community can thrive, can be compassionate, can be caring, can be functional on all levels. And I think we don't do enough to celebrate that. And this, in some small way, adds to the celebration of what we are here in Windsor, Essex. So thank you to the three of you for bringing this forward. And I certainly hope that it's adopted, because I think it's something that makes a lot of common sense and good sense, and it does reflect who we are as a people of this region.
Councillor Francis.
Thank you, Your Worship. I too cannot support for the reasons stated by Councillors Payne and Geniac. Nevertheless, if this is going to move forward, I think that perhaps we look at the statement saying we therefore call upon all men and women, and perhaps change that to we therefore call upon all people. I don't know.
All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Motion does not carry. Thank you very much. Report number 283 of the